Cars in the UK are genuinely easy to steal. Not difficult, not risky, easy. A determined thief with £400 of equipment can take your £40,000 car off the driveway in under a minute, and most of the time you won't even hear it happen. The average British car has more processing power than the Apollo spacecraft that landed on the moon, and it can be stolen by a teenager standing next to your front door with a signal amplifier. That's where we are in 2026. That's not a flaw in the system. That is the system. Almost every piece of technology that makes modern cars smarter also makes them easier to steal, and the manufacturers have known this for years. Britain has become the most favourable environment for car theft in the developed world. The export loopholes, the underfunded police, the risk versus reward maths that makes it too profitable to resist. But behind that picture is a set of questions that matter more to the average driver. Where do the cars actually end up? What can you do to make yours harder to steal? And why do the people who built the problem keep refusing to fix it? Let's start with the question everyone asks. If British cars are right-hand drive and most of the world isn't, where are these stolen vehicles actually going? The popular theory is Eastern Europe, and on the surface that sounds right. Poland, Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, all major transit routes, but all left-hand drive countries. A right-hand drive Range Rover doesn't exactly blend in on a German Autobahn. So the idea that these cars are being resold to European drivers doesn't hold up. Here's what's actually happening. Eastern Europe isn't the buyer, it's the warehouse. Stolen vehicles move through ports in Poland, the Netherlands, and Belgium. They get repackaged, they get fresh paperwork, they get new registration documents that wouldn't pass a serious inspection but don't need to, because from there, they're loaded into containers heading somewhere else entirely. A country that drives on the left side of the road, and one that doesn't ask too many questions about the paperwork. Those destinations are specific: South Africa, Kenya, Uganda, Cyprus, the United Arab Emirates, Pakistan, parts of India, and the big one, the Democratic Republic of Congo. The reason this market is so profitable is almost embarrassingly simple. Right-hand drive markets have very few legitimate suppliers. Japan makes some, Australia barely makes any. Everyone else is importing second-hand cars from wherever they can get them, which means demand is enormous and competition is thin. For British car thieves, it's a near monopoly. Once a car is off British soil, the recovery rate drops to almost zero. Insurance pays out. The owner gets a replacement. The cycle continues. So what can you actually do about it? The good news is that a lot of this is preventable with equipment that costs less than a tank of petrol. The bad news is that almost nobody knows about it. The simplest solution is a Faraday pouch. It's a small fabric bag lined with signal blocking material. You put your key in the bag when you're at home. You close it. The car can't hear the signal anymore. A relay attack becomes physically impossible. These cost between £5 and £15. They work. If you're in a hurry and don't have one, a few layers of aluminium foil wrapped tightly around the key fob does essentially the same thing. It looks ridiculous, but it works. The metal blocks the signal. The car thinks the key is nowhere. The thief outside your door has nothing to amplify. Yes, this is genuinely the year of our Lord 2026, and the most reliable way to protect a £40,000 car is the same stuff your nan wraps her sandwiches in. If every car owner who's been targeted by a relay attack subscribed to this channel, we'd have enough viewers to outnumber the British police force, which, given the state of UK policing, isn't the flex it should be. Beyond Faraday pouches, there's a whole category of physical deterrents that seem almost retro, but are genuinely effective. A steering wheel lock, the bright yellow kind your grandfather used. It won't stop a determined professional, but it will make your car the less attractive option on the street. Thieves are rational. They pick the easiest target. If yours has a visible lock and the one next to it doesn't, they take the other one. More sophisticated options include OBD port blockers, which prevent thieves from plugging diagnostic devices into the port under your dashboard, and ghost immobilizers, aftermarket systems that require you to input a code on the existing buttons of the car before it will start. These cost between £400 and £800 installed. They're almost invisible to thieves. A ghost immobilizer can't be bypassed by any of the current attack methods. The car simply won't start without the code. Parking matters too. Cars on driveways are targeted more than cars on the street because driveways offer privacy. Cars in front of houses with visible cameras are targeted less. Cars in garages are targeted almost never. None of this is rocket science, it's just not being shouted about loudly enough by anyone who matters. Which brings us to the manufacturers, the people who actually built the problem in the first place. The honest answer is that they could fix this. They won't, because the incentives run the wrong way. The car industry is genuinely cooked on this one, and they know it. Adding real physical security to a new car costs money. It increases the price, it can slow down production, and unlike fuel efficiency or crash safety, there are no minimum legal standards in the UK for theft resistance. A manufacturer can sell you an £80,000 car with a security system a teenager can defeat in 2 minutes, and they're not breaking any laws. Some manufacturers have responded to public pressure. Certain Kia and Hyundai models now ship with improved immobilizers after a viral TikTok trend showed how easily they could be stolen. But most of the industry has moved in the opposite direction. They've replaced mechanical security with software security, because software is cheaper, lighter, easier to update, and it sells better in the marketing brochure. There's also a legal problem. If a manufacturer publicly acknowledges that their existing models have a security flaw, they open themselves up to lawsuits, recalls, and regulatory action. So, the easier thing to do is patch quietly, deny as long as possible, let next year's model solve the problem, while millions of vulnerable cars stay on the road. The manufacturer's liability ends at the point of sale. What happens after that is your problem and your insurance company's problem. Insurance companies, meanwhile, have their own incentives. Premiums rise, claims get paid, the cost is distributed across every policyholder in the country. And while insurers have started refusing to cover certain high-risk models or charging enormous premiums for keyless cars, the underlying problem doesn't get solved, it just gets priced in. So where does this leave the average driver? The technology that gets marketed as a feature, keyless entry, push-button start, touchscreen everything, is also what makes the car easy to steal. The police don't have the resources to investigate most cases. The manufacturers don't have the incentive to fix the problem. The government hasn't passed minimum security standards, and the criminal networks running the export pipeline are better funded, better organized, and moving faster than any of the institutions supposedly trying to stop them. The individual solutions are real and they work. Faraday pouches, steering locks, ghost immobilizers, garage parking. But they shouldn't have to exist. You shouldn't have to buy a £10 bag to make your £40,000 car harder to steal. That's the car industry outsourcing its own security failures onto the customer and charging them for the privilege. Until the law changes, or manufacturers are forced to meet minimum standards, or Britain's ports stop treating exports like an afterthought, nothing about this is getting better. The cars will keep disappearing, the containers will keep sailing, and somewhere tonight someone with a cheap device will walk up to a driveway in Solihull, Surrey, or South London, and make another car the UK's problem for exactly as long as it takes to reach the M25. After that, it's gone.